Okay, so let's go ahead and call the study session to order for November 10th and get a roll call, please.
Director Sean, Director Nicole Wiltshire.
Here.
Secretary Arthur Perry.
Here.
Vice President Robert Uten.
Here.
And President Michael Schaefer.
Here, thank you, Gina. Public comments, this is a time set aside for anyone in the audience to make comments, not on the agenda, but within our purview as the sanitary district. I don't see anyone from, well, I do see one person from the public, but
I think she's a consultant.
I think so. Okay, we'll close the public comment and go to items of study. And David, I guess that's yours.
President Schaefer, members of the board, I'm here to present my reports for the month of September and October. The report summarizes three major points for enforcement, topics covering scavenging, graffiti, and trash container enforcement. For the month of September, the code enforcement officer focused his efforts on patrols in various parts of the community. The goal is to identify and deter incidents of scavenging and residential trash carts left within the public view. In the month of September, the district saw a number of complaints filed with CMSD code enforcement staff regarding scavenging activity in the city. As with most scavenging complaints, the alleged violations take place in the early morning hours. In order to address resident concerns, the code enforcement officer is patrolling the streets by 6:30 a.m. The month of September, I caught 3 scavengers depicted by the maps following pages. Any questions on that so far?
When you see these scavengers, do they recognize, I'm sure they do, but do they recognize that the blue cart are generally the materials they want? Do you have a sense of that?
I only see them in the blue carts now.
Okay.
They're not really going through the trash. I mean, I think they figured out that all the valuables are in this blue cart.
Do you have a sense of where they're taking stuff? Are they going to Orange Coast or are they going to other places?
I do not. You know, before I had observed a gentleman that I caught going to OCC. He actually came up right next to me on his bicycle when I was recycling there.
All right.
But no, I don't know where they're going. I seen them, you know, going, you know, past your place. Like I just caught a guy on a skateboard the other day. I didn't catch him, but I observed him with 2 bags skateboarding through the park.
I saw that guy.
And he's sitting the river and going, you know, north. So Santa Ana, I'm assuming somewhere.
So there used to be a recycling place at Fairview and Sunflower, or Fairview and MacArthur, I'm sorry. And I don't know if that one's still open.
We're just. Over on the other side of the.
Oh, okay. Anyway, thank you. I would just, the curious part was about the, you know, attitudes changing or the method changing of going. It's much easier and convenient as we talked before.
Absolutely, and very much closer, but I'm not sure if if everyone of them all know that it's been reopened. Yes, sir.
Might be a question for you or Julie. Does CRNR still purchase the recyclables from OCC Recycle Center?
I don't know where they go.
Yeah, now that it's
But you know that they don't purchase them?
They don't bring them to,
They
they don't bring them to CR.
Okay.
Have they in the past?
Yeah.
They used to.
That's what I thought. Do you know why?
It's a new contract with the
Sorry, Joe.
new contract with those.
They never asked us for a proposal. So, I mean, we weren't even contacted, to be honest. We would have wanted an opportunity to bid on running OCC as a company for the community. So it kind of happened quickly, a little behind the scenes, I think. So no, I don't even know where the material's going.
They, you know, when we went to the opening, they had the cards for that mobile recycling place. Do you think they're taking it?
No, they have to take it to another facility. They don't own and operate their own facility, the Recycle from Home group. And there's a cost for that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get money put on your app, but you don't get any money until you pay all their costs for picking it up. So they say it's free, but it's not really free. But they're just a transporter. They just transport the material, but I don't know where the end market is. And that was a question or something I was going to bring up when we talk about the next
Okay.
item.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, David.
Yes, sir. Any further questions on that? We'll skip to the trash container enforcement. In the month of September, there were a few customer complaints reported to the district headquarters regarding trash carts in public view. The following, a list of locations where trash cart violations were found and addressed by the courtesy notice process. This month of September, 81, little lower numbers. I was working on another project, the manhole recording. We're coming to the end of that, so I'm going to switch now. Any questions on that for the month of September? Go ahead, sir.
Do you find that one portion of the city has more, leaves more trash carts in public view than other? Because I never see you in my neighborhood. Well, I see you once in a while.
Not as much as in your neighborhood, sir. And there are some other parts in the community where it is abused a little bit, so. The month of October, I contacted 5 scavengers, again throughout with the maps, various parts of the community. Any questions on that?
Are those typically called in or you're just patrolling and you see them?
I proactively go out in the mornings, and so a lot of them is me catching them, but residents do call in and will give us, tips at particular. Sue Lester called me last week and mentioned she's got a couple of guys that have been targeting her area, basically one on each side of the street. So I'm going to focus my efforts on Monday mornings in that area. Excuse me, that's Wednesday.
No, that's a really good question. I hadn't thought about that till you just said that. I think the residents, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the residents generally think it's okay.
Yeah, I didn't know it was, against the law.
It's against the law.
I almost felt that it was wrong more on like a trespassing angle. But I was educated on this, that once it gets brought to the street, it's actually the city's property. So it is a version of trespassing in a
What
way.
is, through all these discussions about recycling, one of the key things that it's always come up is there's a privacy thing. People throw their name and address in those trash bins daily.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably a bigger concern, but I would tend to think that the general public thinks it's okay for scavengers to make a living doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I didn't know it was illegal.
Yeah, the city has an ordinance as well.
Responsible pursuit, in my opinion, people that go through trash, but
Well, it's not the city's property, it's here.
it's ours, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's in our contract with CRNR.
That we'll do what we can to
Well,
prevent it.
But it is CRNR's
Once
material.
it's in the can,
It's
it
in the
belongs to CR. Thank you, David. Anything else for David?
How does it work when there's trash carts in public view? You issue a warning, or do you help people
I do
find a
u-
new place to put
I
their?
do
trash
issue
in?
a yellow first warning notice. If I could find this problem again within 30 days, I issue them a red notice, which will have a second notice on there. The violation notices explain the ordinance and the fine and when they can be placed outside and when they should be put away.
So basically, some people just have their trash in public view from the street, from the sidewalk, and that's
It
the
shouldn't be
problem.
in view from the public street.
Yeah, tough.
Could you run by 2316 Santa Ana Ave on Wednesdays or Thursdays, actually? They keep leaving a lot of their recycle carts out, I've noticed. 2316. It's a multifamily, but they have carts.
All right, I will definitely go by there.
It's every week too, like every week, there's two, like recycle carts out
Right.
until like Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
My apologies.
Oh my gosh, no. Thank you.
No problem. Any further questions?
City, it's also, I think it's also in the city charter. I guess we're not a charter city. It's also in that city. Does a city code enforcement officer ever help you in this regard?
They're not patrolling proactively. They would have to have a complaint generated. But I tag everything in the street. If it's a habitual problem that I see, on private property, that's where the city will take over. And they have a different process. So, but there was one of these scavengers that was arrested last week, 2 weeks ago. I apologize. He'd been running from me. I had encountered him 2 weeks previous. I had called the PD. We couldn't find him that day. But the second week we ended up finding him, and he gave false information to them. So they ended up having to take him in, but they were going to cite and release him if he didn't have any warrants. So I left that responsibility of the citation up to them because their citations mean a little bit more than administrative, and they're on board as well of trying to deter this problem in the city. That'll conclude. Any other questions?
Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Thank
as
you.
always. All right, second item, Marissa, this is yours.
Yes, good morning, President and Board. Since the transition to the three-cart system, we've seen a noticeable impact on the district's overall diversion rate. Under the previous mixed waste system, we were consistently achieving around 60 to 61% diversion. However, the three-cart system now relies on customers to properly separate at the source, and we haven't yet seen high enough participation with the recycling cart to maintain those previous diversion levels. So for the first quarter of fiscal year 25-26, our diversion rate is 31.6%. If you look at the charts attached to the staff report, you'll see both tonnage and diversion for fiscal year 24-25 through the first quarter of 25-26. These are updated reports with the new three-cart system, and we'll continue to provide these to the board on the monthly basis with your consent calendar items. Julie Beretta, Senior Regional Vice President with CRNR, is here to give an oral report on how CRNR plans to help boost the district's diversion rate.
Morning.
Morning.
So I'll cover some comments and then I kind of want to piggyback back on OCC recycling. So if you remember, we started cart distribution in October 2024 through December of 2024. So what I'll share with you is in 2021, the city of Newport Beach went through the similar process. Everything was mixed waste processing. Some of them, they weren't even doing organics recycling. So it's usually about a 2-year process to get folks acclimated, and constant outreach and education is what it takes. And we'll see a swing. But one of the things that is unique to Costa Mesa was the reopening of OCC Recycling Center at the same time we started redistributing carts. And that was my concern, thinking, oh, great, here we are now going to a source-separated recycling container, and OCC is opening at the same time. And will people really participate because they just want to take their bottles and cans? And the concern that I had, and I think it just, again, it goes back to some additional outreaches, those folks that go to the recycling center, for the most part, a lot of them don't take all of their scrap paper, their junk mail. Most of them don't even take their cardboard. They're just taking their bottles and cans, which at this point gives them the most rebate for them to use. And a lot of times they'll use it for kids, for their school projects, or for their athletic clubs, whatever the case may be. But the concern, because you have one facility so local and easily accessible to Costa Mesa, is that they're not really focusing on all those other items, which is the majority of what all of us throw away. I don't know about you guys. I don't use a whole lot of single-use plastic like aluminum cans or plastic bottles. We use filtered water. You just don't use those. So all the other things, I do this all the time when I'm doing updates for council presentations, is what's in Julie's recycle cart this week? And my stuff isn't those things that I would take to OCC for rebate. It's your vegetable cans, it's your shampoo bottles, it's your cleaning bottles, it's your aerosol cans once they're empty. It's the paper wrapper of the butter that I just bought. It's all those things that are recyclable material that the machines were once doing prior. When you see the numbers here in July, we're doing for the residents. When we were doing the mixed waste processing, the machines were doing the recycling for the customer. The customer wasn't doing the source separation. So that was my concern from the very beginning. So I think what it goes back to is that's where it's a little bit different than Newport. In Newport, we just weren't, I don't think they were as actively as engaged in recycling as folks in Costa Mesa have always been because of OCC, but it's all those other materials that I just mentioned that we continue to miss, which really drives these numbers. And so, again, it took us a couple years in Newport to see those numbers spike up. I think I'd say, we're 10 months into the program. It will get better. Something that we've done and I want to propose to do it again, that we'll do a quarterly CR&R at our expense. We'll do a quarterly postcard on the what goes where. It's that goes in everyone's mailbox that subscribes to residential service. They'll get that card with the constant reminder. We might do some ad libs and say, don't forget, if you recycle your cans and bottles at another location, there's still all these other materials, and maybe shift the focus to what I've just shared with you publicly today is don't forget there's a lot of other items that should be recycled, and highlight those. And then the other part that I have not done yet is I want to go through the waste characterizations that Mike Ballier does when he comes, because we take photos. And what I like to do is single out what are those common items that I keep seeing that are in the trash loads that should be making it to the recycle loads, kind of a reverse sort, dump the trash so we can see and maybe do some specific outreach on these items that keep falling in there. And I'll tell you, it probably is a lot of those things I mentioned, the shampoo bottles, the detergent bottles, the butter plastic containers. Again, I have cream cheese container this week. Like I said, if you see what's in Julie's recycle bin this week, very little of it is, it's a lot of cardboard, but most of it is these other items that I mentioned that folks don't think about if they're solely going to OCC.
Specific, Julie, sorry to interrupt, but specific to OCC, and Director Perry's always championed the fact that we should be getting some percentages of what OCC recycles. We're no longer getting that, are we?
Well, that was going to be part of my ask. And I'm happy to even pop over is saying, hey, because here's the concern I have. Again, OCC opening up at the same time. Now, if I see, again, we're going to see an increase in the landfill tonnage because at one point we were pulling all the recycling out of it, right? But what I'm looking to see is if I'm seeing a little bit of a decrease in the overall tonnage, which all those items used to go into the mixed waste cart that maybe could be going to OCC. And I think it's really important. They are reporting. The whole point is, when David mentioned, because that was my question, I'll tell you that after COVID, or let me step back. Prior to COVID, there used to be these large, I call them storage containers that were in the back of shopping center parking lots, like a Stater Brothers. And if you saw them, they're like those, they kind of look like the barge, the big caravans, right? Metal containers, and someone was there with their tubs and their scale. You could go anywhere in multiple places, and they were called buyback centers. After COVID, all those closed. A lot of them shut down during COVID, and they never reopened. So when you look at, I know there is one in Santa Ana, our large facility, we have a buyback center in Stanton, but Republic has a buyback center at their facility, but there's not a lot of places for folks to go take their stuff. But the requirement is, it's no different if you go to a landfill. Where are you coming from? Where is this material coming from? You're doing a great job because most cities they don't have a David, I will tell you that. Most cities do not have a David that goes around and cites people for scavenging, which is a huge improvement, right? Because the point is, these guys sometimes aren't Costa Mesa residents. They could live in other areas outside of the city, and this is just kind of what they're doing for a living. So when they go to these facilities and say, where's your material coming from? They're probably not saying Costa Mesa. I'd say they're probably likely giving the city that they live in. So if they live in Santa Ana, if they live in Fountain Valley, who knows where. If they're living in other areas and they go to the buyback center, that is the city that's going to get the reported credit that goes to the state is where they say it's coming from. So I think you're mitigating it by having David do what he's doing. But the other part is OCC is required when you take stuff to say, where are you coming from? Or you have to fill something out that says, so they have that information. I don't, unless they're just giving it directly to the city, because ultimately all of your stuff wraps up under the city, right? That goes to Cal Recycle. Costa Mesa or CMSD doesn't report directly to Cal Recycle. Everything wraps up under the one big umbrella.
You know, even prior to COVID, the city of Costa Mesa, the council majority at that time decided to basically get rid of recycling. There was a huge one at Stater Brothers on Newport Boulevard. There was a huge one on, I don't know the name of the market, I forget, on 19th Street on the west side. And the city said, you're done, you're out. So that meant OCC was getting the bulk of it, but there were still people taking it, I think, out of the city. So the city has contributed to its own distraction or demise of our numbers, I think.
Hey, Julie, you mentioned that you were gonna go to OCC and
Mhm.
ask them. And, cause we used to get like 1.5%, didn't we? Which was help us a little bit, but if we could, is that correct? 1.5?
I could help get you the numbers. What I want to know is I want to know, I mean, I'm more than happy to help if the city can get some revenue out of this, but I want to see the numbers for the sake of the diversion. I'm okay with it if some of this material, at least we know that people are still recycling, and yeah, it might not be going in the blue cart. Let's see how much is actually going to OCC from Costa Mesa residents. But the other piece to that is, and maybe I could work with them and say, hey, could you share some information? Could I give them some information that says, hey, what they don't bring to you, that we could do some co-branding or co-advertising that says, look, if you'll hand this out, I'll put your logo on our flyer that goes out to maybe say, hey, don't forget, if you don't bring it to us, here's all the other things you should be putting in your cart with the blue lid at home.
One other question. What is the diversion rate at Newport Beach right now?
It's,
Just for curiosity.
yeah, I want to say theirs is in the 40s.
We have to go another 10% or so.
And also understand the state, gosh, in 2016, changed the method in which they track diversion. They no longer track diversion as a percentage by city. They track it by the pounds per day disposed of by the residents. So it still matters. It still matters what you're diverting from the landfill, but they're not, cities, they aren't saying, oh, you reported, 31% diversion. They're not looking at that anymore. The goal, if a city is compliant with state programs and targets, it's based on, they set a target for Costa Mesa and they set a pounds per home per day based on population. That's how it's tracked. It's no longer tracked by a percentage.
Do we have access to those numbers? Is that something we need to start looking at on our reports?
I think the last time I looked, Cal Recycle's goal for Costa Mesa was 8 pounds per resident, and right now they're hitting 4 pounds per minute, so they're well below the benchmark.
I think we need to see that on a regular, when we do these reports,
Mhm.
I think we need to see that, how we're fitting that goal as well.
Do we count the recycling that we do as part of our diversion?
Yep, that goes towards it. So whatever you generate, so when you look at it, what are your total trash tons? What are your recycled tons and what are your organic tons? So those organic tons help go towards that 4 pounds versus the 8-pound target. So yeah, the city's doing great. They're doing half. And I had asked Mike, so thank you, Scott. I had asked Mike before I got here if he could tell me what the current amount was. Now, mind you, they're always kind of behind. I think that's a 23 number. I don't even think 24 is published yet. So it matters, right? It still matters, but that also takes, remember, that also takes everything that's done. That takes all diversions. So if people are going to somewhere outside the city and those numbers all get rolled up and reported. So that would include OCC's numbers. If someone was going to a place in Santa Ana and they said, my recycling comes from Costa Mesa, the city gets all that credit.
Yeah, but we're relying on that vendor to make sure he gets,
Correct,
I mean,
correct. Yeah.
I don't know how much they.
Well, they are required to, President Schaefer, they are required because they have to be certified by Cal Recycle to be able to operate. And so they have annual inspections. CalRecycle comes out, they look at their facilities, the LEA comes out. So I'm comfortable that they have all the tonnage because they're required as part of having a permit as a certified recycle facility. The issue I have is when the folks come in, where are they saying that the material comes from?
Oh.
Yeah. And again, if I'm someone that lives in Santa Ana, but I've got a really good route, David's chasing them down and seeing them pull up next to him at Costa Mesa, not sure that they're saying, just because they picked up in Costa Mesa, are they saying it's Costa Mesa?
Are we still doing the waste, the waste composition studies? Scott, I don't think we've been, I haven't seen any for a long time. I went back and looked.
I haven't provided an update. No, I can bring the most recent ones to the board.
Yeah, I think we should start seeing those again. I looked at an old one and, the recyclables, the recycled percentage was like 12%. So it's, I don't know how we can make, the 75% goal, in that regards, your 14X number of customers, none of them have over 50% diversion rate. Is that true?
No, on the residential side, no, it takes all the stuff that happens outside the city. It has construction projects, it takes commercial, they have to, so it's not just residential. You'll never get to a city will never get to the 75% diversion goal with residential only. It takes everything else that happens in the city, from the commercial sector, the industrial sector, the self-haul, all of your grocery stores backhaul their cardboard. They take it, the Stater Brothers, all of them, wherever their corporate office is, they backhaul and bale and they sell all their materials.
Okay, so residential only, all your customers, 50% has been the number that I've seen reported as a right
That's a
around.
maximum. For the most part, all residential in most sectors are between 40 and 50.
Yeah, I mean, so it's even below 50.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does CR&R, when you used to report or gave us data that said our diversion rate was 60%. Does CR&R recycle different materials than we're asking the public to put in the blue card?
No, it's all the same. But again, remember that also includes the organics. So it's a lot of green waste that goes into that number as well. So that 61% wasn't just recycling, that was everything. So that was your organics, and your organics we pick up a lot of green waste organics in this city. And it's very clean. So folks use their green waste carts properly. We have very little contamination in our green waste in this city.
Gardeners using it. I remember the very beginning, we talked about, we gotta educate we gotta let the gardeners know they're using it.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can see them.
We're okay with that. Remember at the beginning, we said, just don't bag it. You can throw it in there, but don't bag it.
Well, I would ask staff to look at the potential diversion rate through the eyes of the waste composition studies. I couldn't find one. It's until I went back to 20. Well, I guess it was May 13th, 2025. It was probably the last one that was reported to the board.
Was the last report? We've done more since, so I can bring that data to the board.
And the green waste and the food waste in that particular one from the landfill cart was 27%. So a lot of contamination. Well, that was from one cart, but that's sort of the average. So I don't think I can't foresee how we'll ever get to much above 40 to 50% diversion rate.
Sure.
You know what? Got one more question. Do you know what the city of Costa Mesa's diversion rate is now? Has that dropped also?
Well, they don't measure it by a percentage anymore. They don't. It just goes by that target.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's 4 pounds. So what they do is they take all of that, and that's how they measure the whole city in totality, is with that target.
Not a monthly amount?
That's an annual number. Yeah. But the assumption is that's a day, that's per day. The target would be the people generate 8 pounds of
The
waste
number
per
comes
day,
out on an
which
annual-
of the all 3 carts, and that's how it comes out.
I mean, don't they have the other products that come for diversion, not just our carts?
Yes,
I know, is that 4% also, or
4 pounds.
4 pounds?
4 pounds. Yeah. Yeah. It's confusing. I will tell you that on average, which this be something I don't know that we've talked about in a long time. I think we talked about last time during negotiations. The average household generates about 56 pounds of waste per week. That's for all 3 carts. That's the average. And it's divvied out. Obviously, the organics is always going to be heavier. And
Yeah.
I mean, recycling for the most part is pretty light.
Yeah.
Is I mean, there we talked from the very beginning about penalties and, you know, the state's gonna throw these heavy penalties on. Are they just sort of sitting, the state,
No,
Cal
that's pretty-
Recycle?
I mean, unless Costa Mesa, so Costa Mesa is fully implemented on the residential side. And I'm talking about the city, because again, that's overall right. And on the commercial side, they're still working on some businesses, maybe not having all the 3 containers. But Costa Mesa is not on Cal Recycle's radar at all. Because again, they're meeting that target. They're looking at cities that are above the target and maybe haven't fully implemented SB 1383 in residential or commercial. Those are the ones that are being focused on.
Way back to the gardeners, you know why they like using the green can? Most gardeners used to take the stuff, you know, you'd have the work done, they would take it away and go to Brea or wherever. I was talking to a guy who's doing some work for me, and he says, "Can I use your green cart?" I said, "No, you're trimming palm trees." He goes, "Oh, that's right." He knew,
Mhm.
right? But he said, I said, "You're gonna have to take them away." And so he had to bump the price up because he's got to pay Brea to dispose of all that. So that's why the gardener,
It's
it's
expensive.
saving them
Mhm.
money.
Yeah.
I have comments.
Palm fronds are supposed to be put in the landfill cart.
No, they're going to the landfill directly, but yes, you're right. They go in the landfill cart.
Yeah.
People who plant too many
I know
palm
that-
trees in their
I'm sorry,
gardens.
Shane, but
Fine.
that is not happening.
It's not, you're getting a lot
We
of
see
it.
them. I see them sticking out a lot.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is really interesting conversation. For the 3-cart tonnage, so this graph, I think it would be helpful to see percentages. I know it would make it really busy. Maybe we have 2 versions, but what I'm interested in seeing is the pattern of organics, recycling, landfill as a percentage of then the total increasing, you know, to observe like seasonality, because we had one of our highest months in September and organics went up. So I'm like, okay, in the fall, it goes up, maybe recycling goes up after Christmas, you know, kind of, I think that would be interesting to start watching. And then it's a bit of a bummer. It seems like around 30% is where we've just been at since we started. And now that we're 10 months in, it sounds like you see improvements around the 24-month mark is what you're seeing. I was wondering too, if the next time we see this, if we could timestamp when we did educational outreach, what kind, how many people did it go to, even retroactively to see, did that help at that time or not? Because we're also debating introducing some punitive measures down the road. So it would be nice to know, okay, you know, in the last 12 months, we tried the educational path this many times. We can see it didn't really make a dent. And that's kind of what I'm wondering is, okay, over the last 10 months, what have we tried? How much money have we spent? How many people did we reach out to just to sort of see it only budge around 5% at most? We just had one of our best months, which is great. But if we still have 10% to go as the goal, I'm a little worried we might not bump it 10% in the next 14 months would be the goal. Um, so, yeah, what is the plan for the next 14 months to
So,
get this up 10%?
So the other thing we could add is maybe something to measure, kind of similar to what David does. I don't know if we want to do it monthly, but maybe quarterly. So I like the idea of, okay, here's when the postcards went out and did we see a spike? Because that happens when we advertise every other stuff. When we advertise key items, HHW collection, we see a huge spike after the postcards go out. So it would be
Mhm.
interesting to see. I have not measured that. It would be interesting to see if we see our tonnage go up after they get the postcard. The other piece to that is this first year, we've tried to be lenient with folks and just not tag anybody for putting the wrong items in the recycle cart because we didn't want to deter them. We wanted to encourage them. So coming up for the next year, what I'd like to see is what we could do is we could report to staff how many contamination tags we left on the cart, and start getting a little stricter, saying, "Hey, oops!" And we have a postcard that says "oops," and it's got pictures on it. And the driver will check the boxes and leave a cart that says, "Here are the wrong items that you put in your recycle cart," and they'll say they belong in the landfill cart or the organics cart. So, and then we can report that to say, okay, as we issue more "oops" tags, and then that takes you to the future steps of any punitive damages.
Who, who, who would find the oops cart? Is that the driver or?
The drivers put those on the carts and they put the tag for the resident,
Oh,
and it's left on
okay.
the cart for the resident.
I like that. I like that better than something in the mail, right? It's right where they're seeing it, right where they're thinking of it.
Immediate gratification.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's full color, English, Spanish.
great.
So they go by and they see a landfill cart with greenways sticking out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That would catch their eye.
Yes.
Well, I had one in my neighborhood, I think I mentioned this before, where the guy just took all of his cardboard boxes and stuffed them, and they were, I mean, the lid was open and cardboard boxes were going everywhere, and he had a yellow, driver didn't pick it up, and he shouldn't, and he put a yellow tag on it, so.
Mm.
Again, that's getting the point across, and it's an
Mhm.
immediate reaction. I mean, you go out to put your cans away, and I'm sure he called,
Mhm.
knowing this guy, I'm sure he called saying he got missed. No, he didn't get missed. So.
Yeah, somewhat question. What does the city do with all the groups that mow lawns at big complexes? What does the city do with their, because they have, what's that?
Vintage,
Yeah.
vintage landscaping, right?
No, I
Shane?
mean, for that the city uses, it's land care, I think. What do they do? Do they take it to the dump or where do
No,
they?
they'll take it to they'll take it to a recycling facility. I'm sure the city requires that as part of their agreements with whether it's West Coast Harbors or whoever their huge maintenance companies are, that they'll have it in writing. They require them and require them to also give the city diversion reports based on where they take it so they can show they're not taking it to the landfill, that they're
What about
taking it
what
to
about the private?
greenery. So in the private businesses, that is something that we do under SB 1383. So in Costa Mesa, it's open market. So the city has 7 permitted haulers. So each of us that have our customers in Costa Mesa, when we go through there and say, well, what do you do? Who does your landscaping? Do you have a third party landscaper? Or, because if we see that there's landscaping in the trash bin, we tell them you have to have a program. You have to add organics cart or organics bin. And a lot of them will say, no, we take our landscape somewhere else. And if they don't generate any other organics, the city can approve a waiver for them that says they don't have to have an organics container, but they have to have proof on file. And then the waivers are only good for 2 years. So that's our job. We go back and we question them.
I mean, how do we get the percentage that they're taking back to us?
We don't have percentages, the city, and they're not required to give percentages. They just have to say that they have a program in place or they don't have a program. But something like that, it goes back to, all that diversion does go back to the city as a whole. They wouldn't come to us here at the district. Because that's all the
We
commercial
do get
side.
credit for it then at the city.
Oh, the city does, yes, for sure. Yeah, they do.
My complex, every Thursday, it's piled, they're there all day. They, got the trees and then I don't know where they take it to. But so they're with the city.
And based on the next item coming up on the agenda, I'll assure you that the last time I checked, I want to say if you go to organics facility or if you go to the landfill, they have their greenery section and they use greenways for erosion control after they chip and grind it. But it's still less than what the landfill rates are going up to. So, I mean, that always kind of helps. That's the only plus to the landfill rates going up, which Scott or Marissa will cover next, is that as landfill rates go up, it does shift people to go, oh, maybe I should recycle more, recycle more from the blue cart or even in the green cart because the landfill rates are going up.
Yeah.
It does deter them. And quite frankly, they probably should have done this years ago. They left disposal to be so cheap in this county and now we have heartburn because it's going to go up so high, but it should have always been higher. Trash should have always been higher than recycle or organics.
A lot of discussion, I sit on the OCOG Board of Directors as well. The last board meeting, Orange County Recycle, I can't remember her name, was there speaking about how the county's not getting any revenue off the methane gas. They've got their methane gas shut off and they're not being able to sell it. There was some talk about diversion and anaerobic digestion, but these are city council people at OCOG, right? And so I think it's a good sign to see that they're addressing it to the city. Most city council members don't have any idea about the diversions and all they've got too many other things on their plate, I guess. But it's nice to see that the cities are starting to get pushed a little bit because that's ultimately where it's going to fall.
So do you need our like blessing to start doing those yellow tags? Are we already doing them?
Already doing them. but
Cool.
we've been, like I said, we've been lenient this past year
Mhm.
because, we want people at least start putting stuff in there. But the plan was for this year is that we get a little stricter.
That's great. I would love that. If there's any way we could even track how many we're dispersing in like a monthly basis, any way that we could start tracking like what is our outbound communications to customers tied to this sort of end result of each month, I think would be super helpful considering we do have a big goal we want to reach in 14 months. And yeah, even any like comparatives you have with other cities, things you've seen work well, not well with them, especially like neighboring cities, because we have somewhat similar demographics. I really also liked when the general manager did the neighborhood breakdown. That was super interesting. Like we could start even tailoring our approaches with different neighborhoods. But yeah, I'd love to see us reach that goal.
You see that through the waste characterizations. That's just something that happens in every city based on demographics. So where the recycle load comes from, that we do the characterization, when you do them in all the different parts of the city, you definitely see some areas where there's more contamination. Maybe they can't afford to add an extra trash cart, so they use their recycling cart as an extra trash cart. And we see that, just
Of course.
specifically, and that's in every jurisdiction.
Of course, yeah. It's sort of a luxury of mental capacity to care about sorting your trash. So I
So as
totally
far as the
understand that.
outreach, we get approval, everything through staff before we send it, but I'll defer to Marissa on tracking the outreach from the district.
Yeah, we can look at district outreach combined with CRNR's outreach and kind of include indicators on our reporting.
Awesome. Excited to see that. Thank you. That was fascinating.
Okay, anything else for Julie? As always, thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, item 3 on Orange County Waste and Recycling. Marissa, I think you're still on board.
Yes, so another exciting item. So we'll be looking at an update on waste disposal agreement negotiations with OC Waste and Recycling. So a little history: since 2009, solid waste disposal in Orange County landfills has been governed by the Waste Disposal Agreement, or WDA, with the county. Under this agreement, cities and sanitary districts agree to deposit certain types of waste exclusively at OC landfills in exchange for low and stable rates. In November of '24, the county introduced a proposed successor agreement to the WDA called the Waste Infrastructure System Enhancement, or WISE agreement. Under that proposal, the disposal fee was set to significantly increase from $42.65 per ton to $82 per ton. In response, the Orange County City Managers Association, or OCCMA, formed an ad hoc committee to negotiate with OC Waste and Recycling. They proposed extending the current WDA while they had time to negotiate the successor agreement. OC Waste and Recycling did agree to that extension, and the WDA was extended through June 30th of 2026. Negotiations with OC Waste and Recycling have continued throughout this year. On October 13th, the county presented their best and final proposal, which includes 2 rate structure options for consideration. They're both outlined in the staff report, but to summarize, option 1 proposes an immediate increase to $73 per ton beginning fiscal year 26-27. And then future adjustments would be tied to the waste disposal index, reaching $79.31 in fiscal year 28-29. Option 2, which is recommended by the OCCMA Technical Advisory Subcommittee, is a phased approach. So it starts at $67 per ton in fiscal year 26-27, and increases to $81 per ton in fiscal year 28-29. So discussions and negotiations are ongoing, and a final agreement is expected in early 2026. Based on the two options that have been provided by the county, the district's landfill disposal costs are expected to exceed budget estimates by between $464,000 to $596,000 in fiscal year 26-27. To prepare for these changes, the fiscal year 25-26 budget already includes $60,000 to fund a solid waste rate study. So that'll help us determine the necessary adjustments to our rates. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Scott, you're involved with the OCCMA. Is the consensus among that group that either one of these, or which one, or none of the alternative? What are you guys thinking?
I don't think they're happy with any of the proposals.
I wouldn't think so.
We're looking more at the first year around, mid $50 range, $50 a ton range. So but unfortunately, we just don't have the leverage, and the county knows that. And so there's just not much we can do. I think we're going to have to just bite the bullet and pick one of these options.
Was the county saying to you guys, you pick? They're not going to say we.
If we don't come back like by December, if we don't have an answer by December, the county's gonna make a decision for us.
Okay.
They're not gonna wait any longer.
If you look at these numbers, either off or option 1 or 2, they probably want us to accept option 2, because over a 3-year period, they're gonna get 4% more, right? And that may not be a giant number. Are they? The rationale for jumping a 67% increase, that's worse than buying groceries, maybe not so much. What's the rationale? Is it availability of landfill? Is it availability of process?
And that's what we've been trying to peel the onion and find out, why is there such a significant cost? Why is your cost going up so much? And we try to get the CMS try to obtain budget information, and the county was always delaying.
Yeah.
Even all the information they gave us, we still don't think it's everything. They think they're hiding some information that we think would be very valuable to us. And so, increase in salaries, increase in operational costs. Honestly, all the lawsuits that they've been experiencing lately. I think in the Voice of OC, they said the city's paid over $250 million in lawsuits, and that doesn't cover all the lawsuits that are still pending from the airport fire. There's still a ton of those lawsuits still pending. And so what they do is they borrow the money from the solid waste fund, and they eventually have to pay it back in a couple of years, but that's how they're getting through it. They borrow the money from the enterprise fund. So I think those are all contributing factors for this. And unfortunately, we're thinking, well, we'll just take our trash somewhere else. We'll take it to another landfill, Riverside or San Bernardino. Well, right now, Los Angeles County, they're higher. They're much higher. So that's off the table. Riverside and San Bernardino said they're not accepting the importation. In fact, they're watching this very closely because they're going to probably do the same thing. I even posed to Julie Sienna, well, they have a landfill in Arizona. What's that going to cost us? Of course, that's too expensive too. So again, we don't have the leverage. If we had the leverage, say, hey, well, we're going to take it somewhere else, you're not getting any revenues, they might come back to the table and say, and negotiate in good faith with us, but we just don't have that.
Overall, and again, back to OCOG, we were told county used to have 20 landfills, and now they have 3, with one of them potentially going to be closed, right? Isn't one of them, Brea Olinda's on the chopping block? So we're down to 2 landfills.
2 landfills, they'll last for another 50, 70 years. I mean, they'll be for a long time. I don't think the capacity is going to be an issue.
we're
Well,
gonna have to,
fine.
we're gonna have to get into a 218 with this and, it's gonna be ugly. And I appreciate the work you've done a ton of work and I appreciate everything you've done.
When will one of these choices be made?
We're hoping, I think they're looking for an answer in December, next month. Yeah.
December? So December, then they'll implement it in July. It looks like. Will we be able to get the solid waste study done? After they make the decision, the solid waste study has to be completed or revised. So that, because then they'll have the data for what we need to charge the residents.
Yes, and we're about ready to go out to bid for the study. We can use the data. We know these two options. We can give
Oh,
the.
so they'll do the
consultants
two
options. Here, work out the numbers, what it's gonna look like, you know.
The only thing I was going to add is, it's unfortunate, but another statement was made by the county. Mike Killebrew, the city manager at Dana Point, has now taken the lead for this group. And the consensus is, and Scott covered it, is kind of these are your only two options, or we're make a decision. And one of the statements was, well, you could choose not to pick any of them if you want, and we'll just set a gate rate. So if they decide to just set a gate rate, which every hauler would just have to pay in every city, they could go straight to the $81 if they wanted to, because if you remember, that was the original number, was 82. So
Why
again, they
wouldn't
have
they
all,
go to
they have
that?
all the leverage. So it's unfortunate. I will share with you that every city is doing a 218. There's no options around it. I presented with Robert Housley last week at Midway, having the same conversation. They're looking at $850,000 in disposal increases that they're going to have to push through to residential. On average, our commercial rates, which you guys don't experience here, but just to understand the impact to everybody. So a little maybe barber shop that has a 3-yard dumpster, picked up one time a week, their rate's going up over 10%. So it's big. It's big. I will tell you that all of my cities that I've spoke to, I see what you're saying about option 2. They're going to benefit a little bit. They're going to make a little more money out of it, but they don't take the phone calls. We're the ones that take the phone calls. And at the end of the day, the hauler and the cities, the haulers more countywide, we're the ones that people are going to think that we're egregiously just raising rates. Mike Killebrew has asked, and a couple other cities have asked, could we put a separate line item on the bill to show the disposal increase and say County of Orange disposal increase? Kind of similar some cities did for SB 1383 when they raised all their rates. They wanted to see, hey, we're doing this because the state put through this unfunded mandates. Cities are unhappy. But at the end of the day, we're the ones that are going to get all the calls. The county's not going to get any of these phone calls.
Can I get a explanation on Prop 218, please?
I thought about that, but thank you for.
You're fine. No shame in asking.
So I'll give you just a high 30,000 overview of Prop 218. So it's a state law that was passed in the 90s, and it requires any kind of fees that residents pay directly for the services like wastewater, trash, landscape and lighting districts. If there's certain that you pay directly for that service. Anytime you want to do a rate increase, you have to notify the property owners that you're doing a rate increase, and you explain, justify why you're doing that increase. I think you give them like you mail out a notice 45 days in advance. They have the opportunity to protest that increase, and if you get I think 50% plus one protest, then you cannot legally implement that increase. So we have 23,000 property owners that receive this. So if we get over what
Any form of protest? Like
yes, it could be
written?
any form. It could be in person. It could be in writing. Any form is fine.
Wow.
Typically we get.
It never happens, I'm sure, but that's crazy.
Well, I'll give you. We have 23,000 property owners. Typically we get about a dozen protests.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We
what's
get over
the
14,000.
biggest we've ever got.
Yeah, I think that I don't even think we even. I kid you not. Since I've been here, I don't think the highest we got was over 25.
I'm sure.
Very.
That's wild.
That was that 25 was when we did the 3-card increase.
Maybe it's very minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, some cities, I've seen some cities get thousands of protests and legally, technically they don't meet that threshold, but that's still significant, and some cities will
Okay.
say, well, maybe we need to relook at this again. You know, if you still get a lot of protests and you don't hit that benchmark, it's always good to maybe look at it. But again, we get very minimal protest.
Thank you. That's super helpful. I was Googling it and then I realized I should just ask. And then I think, kind of to tack on to Bob's question about the solid waste rate study, I just want to make sure timing wise, we're going to be all right. For example, I'm assuming the consultant's going to come back to us and make suggestions, and are we going to have time to approve those for them? Is the goal for those changes to also go live in July? Okay. So it's going to be a tight
We're
time.
going out now.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Problem in the past, but I appreciate you asking that. It is critical. I mean, we have to have the right numbers before we.
Fortunately, July is not that far away.
Yeah, you're right.
We won't get the money until November.
Mm,
The Property tax. payment.
yeah,
So, I think somebody said that we've budgeted for this.
For the study?
So July 1, we'll
Increase.
begin to pay whichever of these things. We're gonna pay the county from July 1, but we don't get the money until November. And you've been aware of this for quite a long time, so you've budgeted for this.
Question, is the 218 for 1 year or multiple years?
Generally, we require up to 5 years. We'll do like a 5-year rate.
That'd be smart. Do they estimate what it will be in 29 and 30? Is it gonna keep going up?
Don't know. We'll have.
good question.
You don't, if you lower the rates, you don't have to do Prop 218, right? Or if you don't lower them, keep them stable, or you lower them, there's no Prop 218. Only if you increase it.
Is there a percentage?
What's that?
Is there a percentage increase that you have to notify property owners? Just
No,
it's
any-
1%.
Yeah.
Dang.
It could be any. We're.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten those notices, so. I think you kind of go, ah, man,
Our rates are on the property tax.
yeah,
It's
still got to
e-
pay it.
I know, but it's easier for us to assess it that way.
Mm,
We're pretty lucky.
yeah. Well, it sounds like this just is a bummer.
We know it was coming.
Every time, I mean, we raise rates. I mean, we have to raise rates in some cases. This is just an obscene rate, as far as I'm concerned. 67% in the
Yeah.
first year. I mean, what kind of planning have these guys, as a county, been doing? I mean, we're pretty good about anticipating things that are going to happen to us over a length of time. This is, again, obscene, but
Yeah, can you give me an idea of like an average homeowner? How much of like, what's the average bill and what's the impact for them? How much of an increase would we see for an individual
right now
family?
it's about 17 a month, right?
More than that. It's
22.
$29 a month. It's like almost $30 a month.
30 a month?
So much I
Yeah,
pay
so
attention to it.
we haven't crunched the numbers, but we're hearing someone saying anywhere between $4 or $5 increase a month.
Mm,
$5,
45?
4 to 5.
Well,
monthly. So you're saying $4 to $5 increase a month for
Whether
a,
it's
for a
I-
family and it's on their
Don't-
property?
Though, that's, don't hold me down, but that's what. we're
Yeah.
hearing for the great-
Okay, well, that sounds way less bad than when I'm looking at 500 grand on us, you know?
another question. Are we anticipating any other expenses that that we're gonna foresee in the 5 years that we're gonna have to add to that?
For solid waste?
No, for the tax bill.
Just on solid waste or on the wastewater side? Because we are doing an RFP for the wastewater next fiscal year. So we are looking at increasing those rates too.
So I'm saying, so we're anticipating those already, right? Okay.
You know, coming up in the future, there's a lot of state mandate. I mean, the electric vehicle thing could affect us. There's several other programs, I think, that
Well,
probably won't affect us drastically, but
the bigger wastewater bill increase will be the Eldon enforcement.
they'll enforce me.
So
Yeah.
so then we have to make a choice, whether we go in debt or do we figure out how to increase it to cover it.
We would rather not go into debt, I think.
Big time.
But we'll keep our fingers crossed for the grant. Well, hopefully we'll get, we're still in the running for the grant, so keep our fingers crossed on that.
Well, keep doing what you're doing with the county. I mean, you've been an integral part and we all appreciate that.
If we had to vote, I'd probably vote for one, but number one, get it off right away. I mean, if it was me voting.
I kind of agree with you, Art. I mean,
It's better to hit them right away. You know. It's not so much every year after that.
Well, this adds to 5% that Mesa good.
Oh, yeah. Mesa Waters, you got 5% every year.
5%.
You know.
There's 5%.
you build every 2 months with that. Okay, moving to closing items, oral communications and director comments. I had a quick question, Marissa, if you know, do we have a list of who is accepting sharps? Do you know?
What?
Accepting sharps.
I know that, I mean, we have it through our door-to-door
Yeah.
program. There are some online, free mail-in programs that we offer. I don't know that we list sites for sharps. We do list medication disposal sites on our website. But for sharps, we promote the door-to-door program. The county has drop-off locations. And then there's some mail-back options as well for sharps.
Would you do, there's a household in North Costa Mesa that needs to get rid of some sharps?
Mhm.
Okay. Could you,
I have sharps I need to get rid of. What are we doing?
oh, so, well, we have a door-to-door, CNR has a well, they'll come and pick it up at your house.
The county also, so if you're not a cart customer, a CMSD cart customer, the county has HHW drop-off sites, so you can take any household hazardous waste, and sharps are one of the items that they accept. So that is on our website. We do link to their website, it has all of their
Find it on the
location.
website.
Yeah, I can send you information if you want. Yeah.
That information would be good in next newsletter we send out. Just
We do promote
think they
sharp
come to my house
information,
because
yeah, in our newsletter.
Because we have a dumpster, right? Probably.
Can I have a question? Sure. Melissa, I think you were part of this creation in Upland where they not only list what you're supposed to put in the cart, but beside it, they list what you're not supposed to put in the cart. Do you think that could be helpful?
Some of our outreach does include that. It'll include like commonly misplaced items. So like you might think it goes in this cart, but it actually goes in this cart. But we can continue to highlight that. Yeah.
I mean, that might be an additional education. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you were the one that created that out there. But
I don't recall specifically. Yeah.
Good answer.
Working on that
Good
campaign, but.
answer. Go ahead, Shania.
Yes, I have more of a city update for you guys. So, if you didn't know, the Fairview Park Master Plan draft is currently in the 30-day period of being available to the public. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been spent on this plan. And council is reviewing it on the 18th. So if you have any opinions or things you'd like to support, please send that into council. Most notably, the Harbor Soaring Society, I would say, is really the one and only controversial thing about the plan, and the thing that I think Pax Commission and City Council were sort of teetering on. So we already reviewed it at Parks. It was a 2 hours of public comment meeting. It was awesome and exhausting. And so, yeah, check it out and send in your thoughts if you'd like.
Fairview Park has been on the master plan, all that rigmarole that had to go through. Was even when I was a Parks Commissioner, and that was about 100 years ago. You nailed it. You nailed it.
So true.
Okay, anything else? All right, we're adjourned to the November 20th board meeting.
November 20th or November 24th? Are we meeting on a?
no, it's on Monday.
Should be the 24th.
It's
Twenty-
the 24th.
Okay, cool.
You know,